Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys at Magic. It's me. It's Steven. Today I'm joined by Hunter. Hunter, say hello.
What's up, everybody?
What is up indeed? Man, what a year, Hunter.
It has been a year. That is right. We are winding down to get to 2025, and I cannot wait. It's going to be a good year.
Yep. Yep. This is going to be the last Precon upgrade. Quotations on the Precon, because obviously this is the secret layer Precon deck. But it was a good year. I think we had a lot of fun with all the Precons. I think this is a kind of a cool way to end it, even though it is 20 ways to win.
20 ways to win. That's right. We are still doing 20 different ways to win with this deck.
Yep, but we got a little extra spice with this one. We got a $300 version of your upgrade. If you guys have not seen the $100, I would highly recommend checking the description down below. Watch that video really quickly and then come back and watch this one. And then while you're down there, I think 80% of you aren't subscribed, so you might as well subscribe so you can stay in tune for the 2025 videos. They're going to be great.
They are
Really
indeed.
great. But yeah, so obviously, like I was mentioning earlier, Hunter, this is going to be your bigger, badder, as you like to say, version of the 20 Ways to Win Precon upgrade. So kind of walk me through it. What do we got going on?
Yeah, so 20 ways to win. Just like the title of the deck, there are 20 different ways to win with this deck. The helm of the deck, however, is not a way to win at all, but rather one of your favorite commanders of all time, Steven. It's Go-Shintai of Life's Origin. Very interesting commander here for this kind of deck. Basically, we're just trying to get our enchantments back if they die, because one of the many ways to win in this deck are enchantments, and enchantments help us win. So, Go-Shintai of Life's Origin, for those that don't remember, is 3 and a green for a 3/4 legendary enchantment creature shrine. It has an ability where you could pay white, blue, black, red, green. You can tap it to return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It also has another ability that says whenever it or another non-token shrine you control enters, you create a 1/1 colorless shrine enchantment creature token. Fun fact, Steven, in case you are not from the $100 video, Go-Shintai is the only non-token shrine in the entire deck. So, yeah, this is the only way to make those tokens.
Yeah, it hurts a lot.
It does.
It hurts a lot.
Yeah. But
I wonder if they did that so when they had to print the tokens for this little precon, they didn't have to print a lot of shrines because you only really need the one.
it's just the one shrine. Except we did add some cool stuff in the 100 that kind of made more. So, exciting stuff.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'll tell you what, before we get into the additions for this 300, how about a quick word from our sponsors?
Hey, what's up, nerds? Today's video is sponsored by our good friends over at Evoke the Art, Bespoke Token Series. If you're looking for another way to upgrade your decks, Evoke the Art's got you covered. Their complete set comes with 50 tokens, 45 of which are double-sided, offering a diverse range of artwork and utility. Head on over to zaxxamastudios.etsy.com to pick up yours today. You can find the link in the description. Once again, huge thanks to Evoke the Art. Now let's get back to the video.
And we're back. It's good to be back.
It's good to be back.
So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into these additions, Hunter. I do see a couple things, but before we jump straight into it, let's go ahead and talk about the $100 editions. Did you get rid of anything? You keeping the $100 editions?
So, as you see on screen here, we are keeping all of these additions. Now, before we get into these new additions, I just want to remind everybody, look at all these additions. There's 20 of them. So for this $300 upgrade, I felt like I really tackled making the deck better in the 100. This is a sequel. So if you haven't already seen the 100, go watch that video first and figure out why I put all these cards in the deck. For good reason. But like I said, I didn't want to change too much for the 300. I feel like if we're starting to throw in a lot more cards than the 20 I have already added, we're changing the deck too much. But I wanted to keep it on theme with making this deck specifically around how it was originally built. 20 ways to win. We're keeping all 20 of those ways to win. If I was to do something different, obviously I would rip out some of those ways to win and just focus on one lane instead of going all lanes. But here we are.
Yeah, a little flavor too. I don't know if you meant it, but like 20 ways to win, 20 cards added. I kind of like it.
Maybe I did.
But sweet. Let's go ahead and get right back into it. So I do see two creatures that we added to this $300, and I can see why they made it into the $300 upgrade.
Yeah, so Obeka Splitter of Seconds is going to be the first creature we're talking about here. It's actually the cheapest edition that you'll see in this Precon upgrade. I think this is under $1. So, one blue, black, and red for a 2/5 legendary creature Ogre Warlock has Menace. And it says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get that many additional upkeep steps after this phase. Very cool card. So the reason I'm adding Obeka in here is because of that additional upkeep step. It's fantastic. We have so many cards that care about upkeep. The main downfall about upkeep, right, is you have to wait your entire next turn for those triggers to happen. If you attack with Obeka and get in with that damage with her, then you get that upkeep immediately, which means all of those, hey, on upkeep, if you have this certain clause, you win the game, those now trigger during your turn instead of waiting for an entire another turn.
I mean, that's fantastic. That and you have so many ways to put +1/+1 counters on your creatures in this deck and just making Upeka bigger and getting those additional upkeeps. That's going to be pretty good, man.
Yeah. And the other big giant card, as far as creatures go, I threw in here Blightsteel Colossus, because I thought it was hilarious to win 21 different ways. 12 generic mana, which means we're a 5-color deck, so it doesn't matter what color we throw into this to cast this. It's an 11/11 artifact creature golem. It's got trample, it's got infect, it's got indestructible. And then if it would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, you put it back into your library instead. Yeah, kill people with infect.
Wow, man. I didn't think you'd be that guy.
I am that guy. Kill people with infect. Not only do we can kill people with infect, but we have different ways to make copies of Blightsteel Colossus. So then we could really win with infect even faster because Blightsteel's not legendary.
Which is insane to me.
I love it.
I'm not here for it. But moving on. I do see a couple instants and sorceries. Let's go ahead and talk about these.
So we have non-permanent spells here, Steven. These are two of your absolute favorite cards because you are the combo player here at Guys at Magic. And that's what this deck is, if you think about it, really. Because 20 different ways to win, you need a combination of things to happen for those cards to actually work. So the best way to make those combos happen at a regular basis is to go and get the other card. For example, there's Liliana's Contract in this deck. That card does not work without one other card in the deck. That is wild. Go and get that card. Biovisionary doesn't work in this deck without one other card in this deck. Go and get that. So yeah, these are tutors. Demonic Tutor and Vampiric Tutor. Demonic Tutor is 1 in the black for a sorcery. It says search your library for a card, and then put that card in your hand, and then shuffle your library. And Vampiric Tutor is 1 black mana for an instant. You search your library for a card, shuffle, put that card on top, and you lose 2 life. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's just going to make the game repetitive, and I totally understand that. It's going to be the same kind of way to win every time. But no, there are 21, because you just saw Blightsteel, ways to win. So every single time, if you draw this card, maybe you're already going up to that one way to win. Go and get the last card you need for that way to win. I think every single time you play one of these cards during your game with 20 ways to win, it'll change the game every time you play it. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I do love these two cards. I put them in pretty much every single one of my combo decks, and by pretty much, I mean they're in there. And yeah, they help me find the win. I think this being in this deck makes it a little bit more flavorful, just because, like you said, you do have the 21 ways now with Blightsteel. I just think that it's kind of fun because you can pick which way you want to win each kind of different game, and it, although there are technically 30 or 31 days in the month, it'd be kind of fun to win a different way each time.
Exactly right. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it's kind of like this deck would be better if it picked a lane. Now with these cards, you can actually pick the lane you want during the game itself, which is fun.
Yeah, I think that's what I really like about these two cards being added. So I will congratulate you on adding them. I think that was the most difficult part about this deck, and why I was not a huge fan of it, is because normally when you build a deck, you are building on the premise of one way to win, maybe 2, 3 if you're a mad lad, but 20 is just so aggressive, and just trying to figure out. I just think the choice overload is just going to be a little bit too much. But this kind of helps narrow down those choices, and I really do enjoy these ads.
Yeah, you can go and just use these to get a land if you wanted to. So go and get Maze's End.
Soul Ring.
Soul Ring. Get what you need when you need it.
All right, moving on to two more permanent cards. Two that I really like seeing. I'm not gonna lie, I think this deck really needed at least one of them.
Yeah, I think the one you're alluding to is this first one. It is Amulet of Vigor. It's 1 mana for an artifact that says whenever a permanent enters the battlefield tapped and under your control, you untap it. The mana base to this deck is atrocious. We are using gates, and pretty much every single gate comes in tapped. So having Amulet of Vigor come down on turn 1, if you're lucky enough to get this in your opening hand, is so important to just get all of our mana from then on coming in untapped. It makes the games so much smoother, so much faster. You'll be in control a lot quicker.
Fantastic addition.
And the other addition that I am adding in here, because we care about card draw, is the best card draw engine in the game. It is Rhystic Study. It's 2 and a blue enchantment. It says whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1 mana. Steven, do you pay the 1?
Never.
Never. So we have different ways in this deck to go ahead and win with the amount of cards in our hand. Triska Decaphile, 20-toed frog. We're also trying to draw quicker to get to Approach of the Second Sun the second time. This card is just really good in this deck, and it's really important. We're a bigger budget now, so we're throwing in better cards.
Yeah, Rhystic Study. I mean, if you're playing blue, I hate saying it. I know a lot of people hate it when we just throw it in the decks, but it is a staple in my mind. It is such a fantastic card, and until they ban this card, I will throw it into every deck I own.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be hard to top that Rhystic Study edition. I do see 1 land added, and actually, it's pretty close to topping it, I won't lie.
Yeah, so the land that we're adding in is actually very good. It's Field of the Dead. It enters the battlefield tapped. Does that make a difference? We're entering tapped. You can tap for a colorless, and it also says whenever it or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. You can go and get this with Demonic Tutor and start building an army that way. Technically, this might be another way to win, because you're going to be having an army of 2/2 black zombies. Because we have 36 lands in this deck, and guess what, Steven? We have 36 different named lands in this deck.
That's fantastic.
So, every land drop after Field of the Dead, 2/2 zombie.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Blightsteel technically was 21. Field of the Dead is 22. It makes 2/2 black zombies. I think I see it's kind of themey, and I like it.
It is themey, and it's a really good card when you're using that many different named lands. It's hard not to throw in Field of the Dead.
Yeah, you're right. But that does look like it's going to be all the additions for the 300. Am I right in saying that?
You are correct in saying that it was, I know, like I said, not a lot of cards, but we did add 20 to the 100. I didn't want to destroy it that much. But yeah, we'll get to my thoughts at the end.
Okay. All right. Well, before we get into the removals, because obviously we added cards, now we have to remove cards. Are you bringing anything back from the $100 removals? Or are we keeping it the same? How are you feeling about that?
We're keeping it the exact same. I liked all the removals that I cut from the 100. All 20 cards on the screen right there. Keeping it the same for this sequel.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get right into these creature removals for the 300. I'm excited to see what you got rid of.
Yeah, so this first card I just felt like wasn't doing as much as the other cards we threw in is Sunscorch Regent. 3/2 white for a 4/3 creature dragon. It's got flying and says whenever an opponent casts a spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on Sunscorch Regent and you gain 1 life. Don't get me wrong, very cool card, very powerful effect. It's doing the thing where we want to gain life. It's doing the thing where we can put counters on stuff with Simic Ascendancy. But we've added so much of those different combinations of gaining life and counters, and it's just one of those that's just a little bit extra that we're just taking out. Tireless Tracker, we're also removing here for 2 and a green for a 3/2 creature human scout. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you investigate. And then whenever you sacrifice a clue, you put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker. We threw in Tireless Provisioner in the $100 upgrade, which I feel like is just infinitely better because it makes treasure, which mana, in my opinion, is better than investigate tokens because we're not spending mana to draw 1 card. And I get it, when you sacrifice those clues, you put counters on this, and this also helps Simic Ascendancy. But it's a slow card draw engine that only produces those clue tokens whenever you drop a land. And I feel like we have a lot better things in the deck that are doing that.
Yeah, tireless provisioner 1000% better. And I'll be honest, I think in any deck, I like tireless tracker because, I never mind, I don't like tireless tracker. But those were two creatures we were removing. I think those were the only two creatures. I do see one instant that is being cut here. What do we got?
Yeah, we're going to remove Heliod's Intervention. It's X and 2 white for an instant that just says choose one. You can destroy X target artifacts and or enchantments, or target player gains twice X life. We have so many ways to gain life in this deck, so I don't feel like I would be pumping as much mana because, let's be real, how much mana are you trying to pump into one spell to gain twice X? Like, are you spending 4 mana to gain 4 life? I don't think so. And then it's just an expensive just mana sink that we just don't need.
Yeah, plus again, I feel like we talked about it in the last video. If you pump so much mana or all your mana into this and it gets countered, man, are you hurting.
You would be hurting for sure.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to a few more permanent spells. I see an artifact, a couple enchantments. Talk to me about these.
Yeah, so I'm getting rid of the Greaves. It's kind of the only equipment in the entire deck. So Lightning Greaves is just 2 mana for an artifact equipment. It has haste and shroud and equip cost of 0. That's cool. I like Greaves, don't get me wrong. But this is just, it's usually on a creature that is trying to make the deck progress. Our deck is in so many different directions that we don't really care about just one single creature in the deck. We care about multiple things happening at once. And Lightning Greaves also, it's giving that shroud, which means we can't target our own stuff, which means we have different ways to put counters on things, which we can't do with shroud. It's a weird include in this deck. I'm cutting the fish. That's right, it's Mystic Remora. 1 blue mana enchantment. It's got cumulative upkeep 1, which, in case you don't know what that means, at the beginning of your upkeep, you put an age counter on this permanent and then sacrifice it unless you pay its upkeep cost for each age counter on it. So it's going to be ticking up more and more and more every turn that you have to keep paying. It also says, whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 4. Don't get me wrong, that is a hefty, hefty tax, but the tax is also going to be hefty every upkeep that you have. And eventually you're going to not pay for this and the fish is gone. So we threw in Rhystic Study, which is better than Mystic Remora in my opinion. I'm just doing a 1-to-1 swap, and that's it. Yeah, we got Esper Sentinel in here too. It's also another great include.
Yeah, I really do feel like Mystic Remora is much better in a CDH style kind of deck.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, in CDH, you want to play as fast as possible, get all your rocks out. Usually, there's a lot of free non-creature spells, so Mystic Remora is great. Whereas if you're playing normal, kind of like power level, which this deck surely is in, people might just say, "Hey, let's just land pass, land pass, land pass," just to make you have to continue to pay the cumulative upkeep here. And I really do like removing the fish rather than keeping it in the deck here.
Yeah, exactly. And the final card we are getting rid of in the permanent department is Ghoulish Impetus. It's 2 and a black for an enchantment aura. It says enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1, has death touch, and is goaded. And then whenever it dies, you can return it to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. It's cool that it's got that self-reanimation thing every time your opponent's creatures die, because you're going to be obviously enchanting your opponent's things. But this doesn't really progress our board a lot. It's just kind of just putting things on the back burner. And we've got so many different ways that we're just kind of like, hey, don't touch us in this deck, that Ghoulish Impetus was just the odd man out.
Yeah, and I also feel like at least the more Magic is progressing throughout the years, there's so much more exile effects, and it's getting out of hand at this point. And I feel like things dying is becoming almost obsolete, which is kind of crazy to even say. So I like the removal here. Ghoulish Impetus is probably one of my favorite cards just because it does have that recursion, but if something just gets exiled, it's not coming back.
Exactly that.
And I do see one land, and I know it's your favorite type of land.
Yeah, we are going to get rid of one of the gates, believe it or not, but we still have well over 10 because that's how much you need to win the game. But we are getting rid of Golgari Guildgate. It is a land gate that enters the battlefield always, 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 always tapped. It taps for a black or a green. Reason I'm getting rid of this one is because those are kind of our weakest colors. So we just don't need this as much.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I would much rather have Field of the Dead in my hand than Golgari Guildgate. So I definitely like the land removal here. It's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely an upgrade.
All right. Well, couple questions I have for you. Let's go ahead and jump into my favorite one. You were given a budget of $300. Where are you at in that regard?
So at the time of recording, that's right, if you get the cheapest printing of every single card that you saw that we added from the 100 and these new cards from the 300, your total amount of money when you purchase them all would be $299.67. That's right, I did it.
You did do it. I am proud of you. You saved money. I think it would have been cooler if you got it straight to 300 because that to me would have been a 23rd way to win.
That would be quite honestly the most impressive feat of them all.
You're not wrong. All right. And like I said, I do have one more question for you, Hunter. We did the $100 upgrade. We did the $300 upgrade. You've done a lot of gold fishing. I can only imagine you have some final thoughts on the video now that we put a little bit more power behind it.
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it in the beginning of the video, right? Because this deck is out of the box, just kind of all over the place. And honestly, if I were to buy this Precon, I would probably take it apart and just put it into decks that I want because I like the artwork. But I know a lot of you guys have actually purchased this deck and are willing to play it. It is jank. That is it, right? This is a jank deck 100% through and through. You will win a game with this deck eventually, and it will be fun, and you will laugh with your friends. And that is what Magic's all about, right? Is sitting down, playing Magic, having a good time. You will have a good time with this deck. These upgrades made this deck a little better, in my opinion. You can go ahead and test them. Check the description in this video, and you will see the entire Moxfield link there. Play test it yourself. It's fun. This is just the way I built it. Like I said, if I was building it in a different way, I would just really figure out one lane and go down it. Because we are doing the counter thing. We're doing life gain. We're doing cards in hand. There's so many different ways that this deck wants to go that I've really tried to reel it in as best I could to make it easier to get to those avenues. So that's just my opinions. I would love to hear you guys' opinions.
You're right. And you can put those opinions right in the comment section right below. And then while you're down there, like I said in the beginning of the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. We always love seeing you guys coming back to our videos. It is my favorite part of the day. While you're in the comments, though, go ahead and let Hunter know what you would have added to the deck or what you would have removed or what you didn't like that he added or what you didn't like that he removed. Don't forget to like us on all of our other socials as well. It is @GuysAtMagic for everything, whether it's going to be X, Instagram, or even TikTok. We got some fun little shorts going on right now for our favorite commander decks leading up into the end of the year, so definitely stay tuned for those. And then on the screen right now are all of our beautiful patrons. Thank you guys so much. We love each and every one of you. If you do want to contribute a little bit more, there is a link to the Patreon down below. But if you can't, no worries. Like I said, just like and subscribe. That is perfectly okay with us. But until the next video, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Peace.